You got to kick it off with a killer to grab attention. Then you got to take it up a notch.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us.
Who are you?
I'm Shiva, the god of death.
Cells. Interlinked.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
Folks, welcome to Debaser, a film podcast. I'm Jared Rusk, and I'm joined by my co-host, Will.
That's me. I'm jacked to the tits.
On this show, we explore both new and familiar movies as we attempt to analyze and interpret them, all in an effort to debase the films and ourselves.
Woo.
William.
Jared.
We're beginning Financial Crisis Month.
That's right. A month that is going to be very fun. 4 different movies.
Capital F.
Yeah, capitalism.
Good
I know,
job.
that was a good one, wasn't it? Anyways, so the idea behind this this series of 4 episodes is going to be kind of seeing how the housing crash started in 2007 and some of the movies that are filmed with the idea of the average person's hardships and what they do to make it through.
Right. I think the 4 films we'll be covering are either going to be showing, perspectives of people that were affected by the financial crisis and not your CEOs or your, financial analyst for, Bear Stearns or what have you.
Yeah, fuck those people.
But we are starting with The Big Short.
That's right.
Banks have conditioned us to trust them. What have we got from that? 25% interest rates on credit cards. They have screwed us on student loans that we can never get out from under.
When the banks committed the greatest fraud in U.S. history,
No one is paying attention.
It's unbelievable.
4 outsiders risked it all to take them down.
We're going to make the big banks hurt.
How can the banks let this happen?
It's fueled by stupidity.
But that's not stupidity, that's fraud.
Tell me the difference between stupid and illegal, and I'll have my wife's brother arrested.
Banks got greedy, and we can profit off of their stupidity.
Do you have any idea what you're up against?
We have to act now.
So Mike Barry, who doesn't wear shoes, knows more than the federal government.
Dr. Mike Barry, yes, he does.
I worry about you.
I'm fine. No, my cab.
What do you mean?
My cab, schmuck. I love you, honey. I'll talk to you later.
There's some shady stuff going down. God, this is intimate. I feel like I'm financially inside of you or something.
Okay.
If we're right, people lose homes, people lose jobs.
The banks have more incentives than greed.
You're wrong.
We can do everything straight and still go broke.
We need to go all in.
The ratings agencies, the banks, the government are all asleep at the wheel.
You think this is a game?
This is a once-in-a-lifetime deal.
I'm thinking.
Sometimes there's nothing you can do. It's scary.
The banks have frauded the American people. Now we can kick them in the teeth.
Okay, here we go.
The Big Short.
You target strippers.
With bad loans.
And they're all cash rich.
You're not going to be able to refinance.
On all my loans,
What do you mean, all your loans?
I have 5 houses and a condo.
How much do you make a year?
Rated R.
This movie, I think, gives a good overview of how the 2007-2008 financial crisis began and what it entailed. The movie doesn't so much cover all of the after effects and lasting damage that it did.
Yeah.
It touches on it, but it's mostly getting into how it was built up and people that were involved and people that saw it coming and yet no one wanted to listen to. However, don't feel too sorry for those people because everyone in this movie that, in The Big Short anyway, that are essentially Chicken Little, like yelling at everyone like, hey, this is happening, got filthy rich
They got
because of it.
crazy money off of this.
That is kind of the complicated thing about this film is they're all anti-heroes in a sense.
Kind of.
Because no one is there sounding the alarm trying to tell regulators or even...
That's not true.
True. Okay, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
The 2 smallest...
Yeah, the 2 smallest guys.
Guys.
Mm-hmm.
God, I don't even remember their names.
I
The
think
2 young
have...
guys that team up with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, Brad... Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I've only got Brad Pitt written down as Ben Reckert. I don't have the other two, but one of them was in American Horror Story, and I was like doing the Leo meme.
Right. But those two guys represent an extremely small financial firm. In fact, our opening scene with them, they are laughed out of the lobby of a bank.
They were trying to get what was it, a ISDA?
Or I think they went in there.
Oh, that's right.
And they didn't have one, and they forgot.
One.
Yeah.
How much does an ISDA cost? About 1.5 bill.
Oh, yeah. But they actually do go to a Wall Street. Wall Street.
Yeah, was this Wall Street Journal?
Wall Street Journal. Thank you. I knew it was WSJ.
Reporter, yeah.
Wall Street Journal reporter to try to tell him about this. And he is, guys, I've spent years building my reputation on Wall Street. Like, I'm not going to throw it away because, you
on a hunch.
I have this crazy hunch, that the entire market's going to be destroyed. Spoiler alert, it was.
Yeah, not maybe a month or two later.
Yeah.
After that scene.
And let's get right into it.
Yeah, let's set the stage. Let's begin the crisis month with the ebbings before the crisis.
Financial crisis begins
now.
So, Will, we're talking about the 2015 movie The Big Short
by Adam McKay.
That's hey.
I gotta have to say stuff too.
If I had a whistle right now, I'd blow it and I'd hand you a red card. This movie is not available for streaming. It is available for purchase and rental. That was tricky.
Was it? Oh.
Yeah, to watch.
I mean, was it?
It's not on Hulu. It's not on Amazon. You have to buy this movie.
Yeah, it was like $3.50 if you wanted to rent it.
Or $3.50 or $3.99?
It was $3.49.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, you're going to have to pay some money to see this.
Yes.
So The Big Short has a packed cast, leading with Christian Bale, Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, and Brad Pitt, as well as smaller roles and cameos, including Jeremy Strong, Hamish Linklater, Margot Robbie, Anthony Bourdain, and Selena Gomez.
Rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
Yeah, Haley pointed that out while I was watching it when he was explaining CDOs.
Yeah, I remember that in the moment, but I've forgotten when I read it.
I wrote it down. Rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain.
So a extremely brief synopsis. We will dig into this movie later after this, but in a one-sentence summary, in 2006 and 2007, a group of investors bet against the United States mortgage market. In their research, they discover how flawed and corrupt the market actually is.
Wow, I'm glad that took you 30 seconds. You want to ask me what I thought about Transformers again? Just kidding.
You want to vamp for 15 minutes while I write a better synopsis?
No, it was good. No, it was very good.
The Big Short is directed by Adam McKay, with a screenplay written by Charles Randolph and Adam McKay. And it's based on the book The Big Short by Michael Lewis. Fun fact, Michael Lewis also wrote the book Moneyball, which the movie Moneyball starring Brad Pitt is also based on. He also wrote the book The Blind Side, that the Sandra Bullock movie is based on.
Oh, really?
Don't really have an opinion on The Blind Side.
I've never seen it, but that's interesting.
Right. I understand.
All three movies did well, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, The Blind Side was a huge hit.
I know. Too. Yeah.
But I know the football player that it's about doesn't like the movie, and apparently it very much hurt his prospects too.
Yeah. I don't know. I remember hearing stuff about that, but I don't know the details of this story.
From what I understand, it's a bit of a white savior movie too.
Yeah.
But again, we didn't watch that movie. We won't get into it.
Yeah.
Adam McKay is known for writing and directing films like Step Brothers, Talladega Nights, and Anchorman. You may notice a Will Ferrell through line through all of those. Mm-hmm. Him and Will Ferrell go way back. And in the last decade, Adam McKay has transitioned from sillier comedies like the aforementioned titles to more dramatic, satirical comedies like today's film, The Big Short, as well as Vice, a biopic of former Vice President Dick Cheney.
He did Vice?
He did.
Oh, I really liked Vice. That was a good one.
And Don't Look Up,
yes,
which came out 2 years ago on Netflix. That's a black comedy that satirizes climate change denial. Adam McKay also produced Succession along with Will Ferrell.
That's right.
And directed some episodes of the show.
He also produced The Menu. It's kind of how
he did.
This is kind of how we started getting onto the idea of...
Right. I had a little bit of a tangent on that episode about Adam McKay transitioning because of the film The Other Guys. So I personally noticed Adam McKay's trajectory readjusting from sillier comedy to more dramatic, satire, when I saw The Other Guys, which is a zany buddy comedy that stars Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. that McKay directed back in 2010. But the film's plot, which is honestly a little esoteric, but it has an ending credit sequence that details Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme, as well as the $700 billion TARP bailout, which we hammer in on during The Big Short.
Yeah.
And the rise of executive or CEO salaries and bonuses, all to the tune of Rage Against the Machine's cover of Bob Dylan's Maggie's Farm.
I love that. That's good stuff.
But yeah, that ending credit sequence and the other guys, I remember watching it and just standing there going, wow, this is really saying something. I did not expect a Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell
buddy cop
vehicle to all of a sudden start hammering in some very serious anti-capitalist messages here. I remember being blown away by it and then Googling it later, finding out everything in it is true. And the production company that Adam McKay hired to make that sequence, like, they're just like a bunch of goofy graphic designers.
Yeah.
But when Adam McKay told them like what he wanted, the kind of facts they wanted them to put in it, they started researching it, and then they got kind of radicalized while doing this.
Tight.
And they were like, all that shit's real. Like, we for real sourced everything in there. Like, yeah, executive pay has risen like, several 100%. So onto the budget. The film had a humongous budget of $50 million and had a worldwide gross of $133.4 million.
Good job.
I am shocked. Both that the budget was so large and that it grossed so much.
It's got to be word of mouth and the large cast, because like that's a lot of people.
Exactly. And one has to assume that the budget was so gargantuan for a comedy due to the large star-studded cast, even cameos.
Yeah.
I'm sure Margot Robbie and Anthony Bourdain and Selena Gomez, got a fat check out of this movie.
Sure,
yeah, they're short scenes, but they may have been more than a day of filming. Maybe not.
Probably
the
not.
more I think about it, the more I'm backing off of that.
Maybe Margot Robbie is because if you watch the scene, there's a lot of like weird, awkward cuts. Where she's,
just in that scene, not the whole movie.
Well, I mean, yeah, but like whatchamacallit, when she's reaching for her glass a bunch of times, like to be
the continuity of the glass is so off.
Yeah, it's fucking
that
rough.
did bother me. Apparently, that was real champagne.
Oh, was it? And she was getting...
Yeah, she said she had a really hard time because she had to memorize her lines. There weren't cue cards.
Right.
And so she had a really hard time, like, between drinking the champagne and memorizing, like, remembering to recite all of her lines verbatim. So, I get it. Like, not easy. The film did review very well and received particular praise for tackling the complicated events that led to the 2008 financial crisis in a way that could be understood by a layperson with surprising accuracy.
Which I appreciate wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
That was like my favorite thing about this
I mean,
film.
this movie is almost a public service.
Yeah.
Like, it cost a lot of money. It made a lot of money. But it is a black comedy, if you will.
Right.
But it is performing a public service by breaking down a very complicated subject.
An important subject,
in
too.
a digestible way that I'm going to go on to argue later that is maybe a little too MTV generation, a little too fast cut. Like, because most of this movie is cell phone conversations, and we are just getting just rapid cuts back and forth, like mid-sentences even. Between each other on the line, and the camera can't focus. It's constantly, rapidly zooming in and out and losing focus. It's.
I think that's like stylistic.
It is stylistic.
That's neither here nor there. We can talk about that.
I'll get into that later. But I feel like they nailed it better in Succession.
Oh, 100%. But that's almost like a fly on the wall kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
It's trying to feel like a documentary crew, whereas in The Big Short here, it's distracting.
I gotcha.
I'll get out. It was so distracting. So,
guide me.
Yeah, let's not necessarily a beat by beat, because this film does have a plot.
It's impossible to follow it though.
Right, but the plot is purely a contrivance to show how people saw this market crash coming.
Right.
And how they profited off it, most importantly.
Yes.
For them. Where do you even begin? I mean,
actually, I was going to suggest we start at the beginning. So
okay,
but like not as a synopsis sort of thing, but more like Ryan Gosling comes on the screen and he breaks down.
So we get a 70s porno aesthetic.
Yes.
Of how mortgage-backed securities began.
Right. This was like before that, just right before that was like, banking was boring.
Oh right.
It was like a safe bet kind of thing.
Yeah. So. We should say in this film, a lot of characters break the fourth wall and talk directly to the camera.
Yes.
So that they can better explain things.
Mhm.
So there's no contrivance of having to, narrate or anything. They just look directly at the camera and will address you.
Yes.
And it's a little jarring and funny the first few times it happens, but you get used to it.
Right. Especially when they bring in like people who are not even in the movie at all. Selena Gomez, Margot Robbie,
Right.
Anthony
And they're
Bourdain.
purely just, stunt cameos, essentially.
Yeah.
To help explain more difficult subjects.
Yes.
Although I found some of the parallels that they're drawing to be a little
They're difficult.
distracting.
They're still like they're kind of good, but also and the same thing. There's not enough substance there to really explain what exactly is happening.
Right. And the Margot Robbie in the bath thing just felt titillating to be titillating.
What was she even talking about?
I don't even remember now.
Yeah, because
I remember Anthony Bourdain's.
Yes, I remember Anthony
he's talking
Bourdain's
about
CDOs.
CDOs
He's
and
talking
how
about
they're just
CDOs.
like a fish stew. It's all the leftovers that nobody wants.
Right, and
but you
then
can still resell it.
I remember Selena Gomez's because that's synthetic CDOs.
Right,
The
and
bet on
people
the bet.
making side bets
Yes.
off of the other CDOs.
The Margot Robbie, the weird edits fucked me up so bad.
It was distracting. Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that it was distracting because she was in a bathtub.
No.
It was distracting because the edits were
all the
fucking
weird
awful.
cuts. Yeah, if it was one
continuous shot,
yeah, exactly. But I don't
blame her.
Oh yeah, but I feel like that's an Adam McKay thing.
Maybe
they were
yeah.
cutting around the lines.
Yeah.
And maybe Adam McKay cannot hold a single shot. He's like, that's too boring. Keep going.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. But we open with Ryan Gosling explaining to us that banking was a boring,
safe
thing. Bonds, particularly.
Right.
And then in the 70s, this guy created the idea of mortgage-backed securities. And what it is you bundle a bunch of mortgages, like loans that people have, which are considered to be extremely safe because, people pay their mortgages. Like foreclosures are relatively rare.
Right.
And if you sell, a collection of loans to an investor or another bank, you can make tons of money, like lots of profit off of it, essentially. And everyone profits, everyone does well. And this became a huge boon for the financial industry. It greatly benefited Wall Street, who are speculative investors.
Right.
They love to buy these things, mortgage-backed securities, among other things. But this is what caused the 2008 financial crisis.
It's a collection. It isn't just one person's mortgage.
It is
multiple people's mortgages.
Yeah, it's a collection of hundreds, if not thousands, of people's mortgages. In fact, almost the same month I got my mortgage, I got a letter from the bank saying that I had been sold off to somebody through Fannie Mae.
Okay.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
So is that just for me because I'm an idiot?
No, this is a extremely complicated subject, and I'm worried I'm going to fail to sufficiently explain it.
Yeah. So was that the reason why later on, when Ryan Gosling was pitching his idea to
Steve Carell's character Mark Baum?
Yes, he had the Jenga tower. Was that Jenga tower supposed to be the people? Is that all the people's loans?
Those are all the loans.
Okay.
And each Jenga block on this tower, when
Yes.
he's explaining how this process works, has a different letter sequence on it.
Right.
And it was like B, 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 B,
High-
B, B.
it was
A,
high
A,
risk.
A.
Yeah, high risk investment or
Yes.
mortgages.
Those are credit ratings.
Credit ratings to
Right.
low risk credit ratings. AAA being your low risk. This person is very reliable. They
Right.
pay on time.
Those are the most reliable loans.
But for whatever reason, they're at the top, and the most unreliable paying people are at the bottom.
Right.
And if those people start defaulting, then somehow that starts affecting the people above them, right?
Because they bundled them all together. That's the problem. So, a brief synopsis of credit ratings.
Yeah.
So, agencies like S&P, which is represented by the woman that had just had like cataract surgery or something in the film, which was a little on the nose, but it works because this movie is all about metaphors.
Right.
So, banks will take a collection of mortgage loans.
Yeah.
Loans. Let's just say loans.
Sure.
And we'll bundle them together to sell them off.
Yes.
Now, they're supposed to get a good mix of, low risk and high risk.
Sure.
Yeah, and the more low risk, the higher the credit rating. So if you have like 90% low risk loans and like 10% high risk loans, you could get a AA or a AAA rating, which is very reliable. That's what you want.
Yes.
That's like the best rating you can get.
Right.
And it's worth the most money.
Yes.
But with your Bs and your BBs, it's going to pay off more, but it's because they're riskier. But those are all because those are people that have too much, debt to income ratio, or they gloss over this stuff. But when Christian Bale is going through the actual mortgages, he's seeing
all the zeros. Right?
Well, not just the zeros. He's seeing that so many of the people in those loans,
yes,
are in over their head. Like they don't make enough
to keep themselves
continue
afloat.
paying all those loans.
Gotcha.
Right. And the bankers, the mortgage writers, the underwriters, the realtors, everybody involved, which other characters in this movie learn by interviewing people and just asking around.
Yeah.
We're being fraudulent. We're lying on forms in order to make money. But Christian Bale actually was scrolling through these numbers and realizing these credit ratings weren't real.
Yeah, he picked it up immediately.
Right, and he knew that way just by looking at numbers.
I'm curious how he got that information.
It's supposed to be available.
Oh, really?
You can just request it and look at it. But the problem was the credit rating agencies, as Mark Baum learns when he goes to interview the S&P lady with the cataract glasses, says, why are you giving these AAA ratings? They shouldn't be. Like, if you were to actually look at the numbers, they should actually be A or even Bs. And she's saying, she like lowers her voice and she's like,
because they'll go down the street.
Right. They'll go to another agency if we don't give it to them. So we just have to do it. She's like, I have quotas to meet. My boss is going to be on my ass. And Mark gets upset.
Yeah, he gets pissed.
She's technically breaking the law.
Yeah.
A lot of people did this kind of stuff. And like nobody went to jail. Like, I think a single digit number of people actually went to jail for anything.
Actually.
Do you have?
I wrote down because
the one guy they name in the movie.
Because I love that we started with the movie and now we are currently at the ending of the movie.
We're going to be jumping around.
Yeah. But, for the record, go watch the movie. It's great.
Yeah, we should maybe open with a statement saying, "Go watch this movie." It's going to be very confusing if we just talk about it.
Yeah. So hold on. I believe. No. I wrote down bailout. They only arrested one guy, just one guy. And then I also wrote that it was a book based on a book by Michael Lewis.
Yeah. Okay.
But I did write down that there was one dude that got arrested, just one out of all of these people. It's fucking unreal.
That might be a dramatization for the movie.
Maybe.
I know that like next to nobody went to jail for everything involved because it was a series of fraudulent, transactions by levels and levels of people. But anyway, so that's what mortgage-backed securities are. And
thank you.
The banks and the lenders and everybody had been essentially lying about how safe they were.
Gotcha.
While selling them for tons of money.
Yeah. So my question is, I'm not too sure if this is like spelled out, but how did Christian Bale's character Michael Berry? I think Barry. Yeah. Barry. How did he like catch up on this? Like, what is there like a certain deadline that everybody would default on, or did he?
Yes.
Okay, so it was like based on a certain period of time, and he knew that it started in an X date and it was going to end on Y date.
I know he specifically says that because his investors keep trying to pull out of his firm, thinking that he's going to ruin them.
Yes.
But he is convinced that because so many of these mortgages are adjustable rate mortgages, which are bad.
Right, because like you start at a certain percentage, and then after a certain period of time, it goes up to a larger percentage.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so all of a sudden, after like a year or two of paying your mortgage, it skyrockets.
Yes, and then you're giga-fucked.
Yes, and a lot of the people that these mortgages were sold to, back at this time, and maybe still today, can't afford that lower or the higher payment.
Right.
They're not expecting it because maybe they didn't realize what they were signing up for, or they were expecting to be in a higher income bracket by the time that rate kicked in.
Sure. Yeah.
And I mean, how often does that happen?
It never.
Yeah. I know I'm making less money than I was 2 years ago.
I think the best like example of this in the movie was when Steve Carell and crew are in Miami.
Yes.
Welcome back to Florida. And they are Steve Carell's character is talking to a dancer at a club, and how she was sold like 5 properties, all at an adjustable interest rate.
Well, that's he finds that out after.
So, that she has properties.
First he's telling her that like, hey, you have a loan
with these guys,
right, and he's like, your payment's going to skyrocket eventually,
but like 200%, and she's like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. And she's like, what about my other loans? He's like, what do you mean your other loans? She's like, I own 5 homes.
Yeah.
And that's like the punchline, but it's horrifying.
It's devastating. Yeah.
Yeah, because lenders at the time, for multiple banks would just, give anybody a mortgage.
Right, because they were incentivized to do it.
Exactly.
Is what the
Right.
movie kind of says.
Right.
Like, in case of point, the two guys in Florida, the two dingbats in Florida.
This movie has a lot of villains,
A ton.
but those two guys in particular felt especially. The movie had a lot of venom for them in particular.
Yeah.
Because they weren't aware of how awful what they were doing was. They thought they were just giving people
Homes. Yeah, they thought they were doing good
and they were
rich
profiting
by
doing
from
it.
Yeah.
But I think the characters in the film were laughing or mad at them because they're too stupid to realize
what they're doing to
that
people.
These guys are representative of thousands of people around the country that are going to ruin the economy and did, honestly.
Yeah.
Because they were just like, oh yeah, I leave this person's income blank and they qualify for this mortgage and it's fine. Like the paperwork went through, it's okay. Like because the team that's investigating these mortgages are like
they're investors too, are they not? They like invest money, and so they're
pretending to be.
Yeah, they're pretending like they're gonna buy
investors. Yeah. So people think that they're just answering innocent questions.
Yeah.
But they ask them like, so what happens when people get denied for these mortgages? And they laugh and scoff and they're like,
yeah,
what do you mean
they don't get denied.
And so they realize like, oh, literally anyone's getting mortgages.
Yes.
Like, and this is, the pretense for how the crisis happened.
Hey, so while we're in Miami, let me bring up a specific scene. Okay.
Is it when they're going around the suburbs?
Yes.
One of the best scenes in the movie.
One of the best scenes in the movie. Such a good scene, in fact, that it is, I think, ripped almost word for word in the next movie that we're going to talk about, 99 Homes. So there's a scene where Steve Carell's crew is in the suburbs and they go up to a house and a man answers the door and they say, hey, do you know that, you're behind on your payments and whatnot? And he goes, well, what do you mean?
Yeah, like your house is about to get foreclosed on.
I don't own this house. I don't own this house. I rent and I pay my landlord every single, month.
Right. He's like, no, I'm up to date on my rent.
Yeah. And their landlord clearly doesn't live in Florida or has pocketed the cash and decided not to pay the mortgage. And this poor guy is going to end up homeless. He's going to get evicted. And when we do talk about 99 Homes, I'm going to circle back.
Yeah. Because they both have almost that exact same scene, which is what happened to millions of people.
This actually happened to people?
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. That's unreal, dude.
I know.
Kill landlords. That's fucking nuts. I can't imagine putting your trust in. Well, I mean, like this whole movie is about putting your trust in a system, but like putting your trust in somebody, and doing your part, and then still getting some sort of backlash, and putting in a possible situation of like, what the fuck do you do after this?
It doesn't even stop at people who got evicted from foreclosed homes. It also extends to people that had retirement funds, 401ks.
Right.
8 million people lost their jobs because of this crisis.
And 6 million lost their homes.
People that presumably had nothing to do with the crisis.
Right.
Had nothing to do with fraudulently filling out, loan documents or giving people loans that they shouldn't have, like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So many people got laid off in this period and then couldn't find work around the same time
because nobody was hiring. They were all these businesses were trying to, I guess, recover from also losing money.
Right. And for retirement funds. Okay.
Yeah.
I personally know people that were retiring around this time.
Yeah.
And because of the stock market and everything crashing,
the banks couldn't pay out.
Well, their retirement funds were gone.
Yeah.
They had nothing to retire on. They just had to wait until they could collect Social Security, which is not enough to live off of.
Right.
You expect your 401ks and such to be able to
help supplement.
Right, exactly.
So did those people ever get that like paid back? Or
if they no. That's the thing.
Are you fucking kidding me?
If you retire and start drawing from it, no. The thing is they had to either stay in the workforce and hope that their retirement builds again. This happened again 3 years ago. This has happened twice.
I heard about that
since we became adults.
Yeah.
I personally watched it happen in slow motion. Like a lot of people, this isn't unique.
Right.
But I remember in February when Corona started becoming a hot word.
Yep.
And my manager went, "Oh God, don't look at your retirement fund." And I went, "What?" Because I had never thought to do that.
Of course,
I
of
didn't know
course.
there was a website where you could log in and literally do that either.
Yeah.
And so I like opened it up and got set up and looked at it, and it's literally almost a straight line down. And it was because the financial markets had been reacting to COVID
Right.
Already.
Yeah.
Because China had been locking down.
Yeah.
And I got laid off a month and a half later.
Yeah. And you couldn't draw from it too, right? Because it didn't exist.
You mean the retirement funds?
Yeah.
You could pull out, but you would have lost so much money.
Better than not having anything
And
at all.
I think there's so many penalties.
Yeah, no,
involved in doing that.
I'm very aware because I've done it before.
Oh,
I've done
okay.
it twice actually.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but it's like I'm not going to remember 30 years from now what fucking, you know, and then who's to say it's not even going to be there. Anyways, I'm sorry, we were going off on a tangent. But yeah, so one thing that I wrote down here is Christian Bale's doing game stonks. Because this is something that when I made a GameStop joke to you once while we were recording, and you were like, those are just idiots that watch too much of The Big Short.
Yeah,
and
actually,
now it's full circle.
This movie and Wolf of Wall Street got really hot during the whole GameStonks thing.
Pin in that.
Yeah.
But I did look up Wolf of Wall Street when it came out, 2013.
Yeah.
Did this movie not feel like it was kind of stealing some of the style from Wolf of Wall Street?
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Not enough that I think that they are.
No, yeah, they're
yeah.
they're not like this the same. But it was just interesting to be like, okay, I can kind of see like a similarity between the two.
Yeah.
So Christian Bale somehow convinces banks to let him give them money to short sell on these mortgages defaulting. Is that something that exists, or is that something that they created specifically for him because he was toting around, you know, millions of dollars?
My understanding is that it does exist in a form, but it was just so unheard of.
Yeah.
Because it's in the bank's minds, a bad call.
Right.
Because it means that he's going to just pay the banks millions of dollars in
subsidiaries?
APR. Interest.
Yes.
He's just paying the banks millions of dollars every month in interest, betting that they're going to owe him like a few billion.
Right.
Which they did. Because he was right.
Yes.
Which is so crazy.
He got paid too, right?
Oh, yeah. He's rich as fuck.
So,
yeah,
damn,
the guy that
how were they able to pay him if they lost a bunch of money?
They got bailed out.
It was the bailouts. They got
bailed out.
They got bailed out so hard that they were able to pay off the people who bet against them.
Well, the government.
Oh, I know the government. Yeah,
spent $700 billion.
Yeah,
bailing out all of these banks.
I mean, I'm aware of that. I remember when this was happening.
Yeah.
And I remember like hearing about that and thinking to myself, man, that's kind of crazy. But like, don't we need banks?
So
I was 18 at the time.
Okay.
So
this is where it gets kind of complicated.
Right.
Again, all of this is very convoluted.
Yeah.
And I don't have. I think I have a layman's understanding of this. So I'm doing my best.
Better than me.
So Christian Bale, Mark Baum,
yes,
etc. They were buying. You know, they were short selling.
Yeah, they were paying the bank's money and betting on the fact that
they were saying that when all of your mortgage-backed securities crash, you're going to have to start paying me absurd sums of money every month.
It's like a 1 to 10 or some shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Now the thing is, the bank, they could either choose to collect that money every month from the bank, or the bank could buy it back from them.
That was happening later in the movie.
That's why Mark Baum. They make a big point in this movie that Mark Baum was the last one to sell.
Yeah, Kendall kept being
arguing
like,
with him to sell
yeah.
because they were primed to make their most money at the peak of the crash. You know what I mean? What's the reverse of a peak?
Dip?
The dip, the lowest dip, exactly, like the lowest point before they started going back up. Because
the crevasse.
Well, in the movie, he literally waits till the last minute because Steve Carell tells Jeremy Strong's character, I think Ben Bernanke or Alan Greenspan just left the White House. And he's like, they're going to bail them out. I know they are. Once the bailout got announced, their short stocks wouldn't have been worth that much money.
Gotcha.
Because it's like, all of these are fine now.
And it's implied in this movie that the banks were hoping for that. Like, they were doing this and then like, oh, well, that's fine.
They're like, we'll be fine. If it fucks up, we get paid either way. Yeah.
Which is nuts.
It's good.
because we've seen
finally cooling down. Sorry, I'm watching the temperature on the clock.
Yeah, you're good, man. Because this recently happened earlier this year, right? With the Silicon Valley banks, the 3.
Yes,
but it was a little bit different because people were withdrawing from them.
Well, yeah, there was a rally at the bank.
Yeah.
Which, hey, did you know you could fuck up the economy by just making a bunch of people that have money invested in a bank go and get it?
Yeah, I mean,
isn't that absurd that that's how
it's pretty
unstable?
Wild because they don't have the liquidity. Yeah, like isn't that what happened with the Great Depression? A lot of people were trying to withdraw from the banks.
That's why the 1920s financial crisis happened essentially. Yeah, because people started freaking out about the stock market.
Right.
Everyone went to go withdraw their money.
Yeah.
Banks didn't have it because it was invested.
Yeah.
And
I saw It's a Wonderful Life. I get it.
Oh yeah, that is the plot of that.
That was the plot of it.
I don't have her money. It's at Will's house and Courtney's house.
That's good shit. Oh no, we were just that's
the
bailout. We were talking about they were kind of expecting the bailout.
At the peak of this crash.
Yes.
The banks turn around and call they call Christian Bale and say, we want to buy your your short socks back from you.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah, I thought so. Now, he was expecting the crash to happen sooner, but it didn't.
Yeah,
it's explained in this film because the banks were lying.
That's right.
They were falsifying.
Yeah, I remember once 2007 rolled around, he's like, what the fuck's going on? He's like very, very laser focused on the percentage of the company's value going down. And you find out through Steve Carell's character that they were lying.
Right.
I think because they called up Bennett right when they were supposed to be getting a payout.
Right.
Who was
and they're chewing him out. Ryan Gosling's character, yeah.
And they're like, oh, where the fuck's my money, man? Did you fuck me? And Kendall Roy's walking around with a fucking bat.
Okay, side tangent.
Yeah.
Jeremy Strong is so good in this movie. And it was fantastic, so refreshing to see him playing someone the opposite of Kendall Roy.
Who's not shitty, yeah. Or not as shitty.
Maybe he's still shitty. But he is not a weak, ineffective, just scummy...
fail son.
Fail son, yes. Yeah. Fail son is... Yes, perfect.
I know, dude. I got it.
But also, he's just a guy who... Has he ever had a real conversation with anybody? Specifically, I mean Kendall Roy.
Right, yeah.
And he just, whenever he tries to talk to anybody or relate to them, he comes off just so fake. It's because he's putting it on whenever he needs to talk to somebody. He's like, hey, buddy. Hey, my guy.
Hey.
Yeah. Let's just fucking do it, okay? Let's just rock it to the stratosphere. And no one talks like that, dude. Shut the fuck up.
Let's just disrupt. We got to disrupt, man.
Yeah.
We'll fucking kill it.
But his character in this movie is the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And, I read that, he's a method actor and he spent a really long time hanging out with the guy that his character is based on so that he could nail his mannerisms and everything.
Wow.
And I believe for the second he's on screen, I'm like, oh, this is a real person.
Yeah.
Everything from the big open button shirt to the baseball bat to just the tough attitude.
Yeah.
I was so impressed to see that he could pull that off.
Good job, Jeremy.
He's not a one-note actor.
No.
Because I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff. And I really know him as Kendall Roy.
I was genuinely shocked when I was like, oh my fucking God, it's Kendall. What's going in another... He's
in a financial movie,
Yeah.
but he is not Kendall Roy in the least.
No.
I was so happy to see that.
Yeah, me too.
And I love the part where they explain that, and when they're introducing him, the movie says that, his father was killed in a violent crime when he was young, but he doesn't talk about that. And he looks at the camera and goes, I don't talk about that.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a great, great beat.
Is he Batman?
What?
Is he Batman?
How do you mean?
His father was...
Oh, well, it had to be his mom, too.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, he wasn't an orphan.
Yeah, he got me there. Yeah. Fuck, man. What else is there to talk about? Do you want to talk about CDOs, synthetic CDOs?
Oh God, yeah. So
there's a lot of jargon that they give us, and then they try to break it down.
They try to explain. I get a little confused about the synthetic CDOs, but so let's back up. The CDO is a collection of bad loans, essentially, that are when they're thrown together, or bad, a collection of loans that you can sell securities on. It's explained that.
So supposedly they serve as collateral if the loan defaults. So this is a side thing when it comes to the mortgage back. The mortgage back is the collection of loans, right? Mm-hmm. That has, triple A's down to triple B's.
Supposedly it's supposed to be highly rated and will not fail.
Right.
Yes.
And a CDO is a collection of the leftovers, essentially. Like if this fails, the CDO is a side thing that is supposed to serve as collateral if the original loan defaults.
Right.
And Anthony Bourdain gives us this nice explanation about, I get some fish, I cut up the fish, I sell some of the fish, but 3 days later, whatever is left over is kind of bad. I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to get rid of that because that's profit. That's potential profit. So I'm going to take those shitty parts and I'm going to put them in a stew, and I sell fish stew, and that is a CDO, right? And that's kind of like, it's a great way of explaining stuff. But then we get to synthetic CDOs, and that's explained by Selena Gomez. And who the fuck was the guy with her? A behavioralist?
That is how they explain. I thought he was an economist.
Economist? Hell yeah. No, economist. I love that. That's a good one.
I'm smart.
I actually wrote down the Return of Selena Gomez because we literally just got done talking about her.
Spring Breakers, yeah. This was like 2 years after that too, so it was very shortly after.
Fucking weird.
So my understanding, and I'm a little fuzzy on those, but
this
the
one was
CDOs,
hard to explain.
Yeah, but it's essentially further bets against the CDO or against the mortgage-backed security failing.
Yeah, it's a CDO within a CDO. Like,
yeah,
basically they explained it as if there's a poker game and Selena Gomez is playing, right, and she makes a bet with the person next to her, that's a CDO.
Yes.
Like, because if she fails,
that she's going to beat the dealer or not.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And then supposedly, if a person behind is watching this and turns to the next person and says, "I bet that she's not going to have to pay," this. They bet on the original bet, and then more people hear that and they bet on the original bet's bet.
Right.
All the way down the line. Right.
Yeah.
And so, but like, it's supposed to be insurance, and it doesn't seem like it is. It seems like the opposite.
No,
effect.
because they were all fraudulent. All of the loans were risky.
I got you.
Both in the mortgage-backed securities and in the CDOs, because that's why they all collapse and everything goes to shit. That's the illustration of the Jenga tower too.
In theory, it would have worked if none of this was fraudulent.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, and if a little bit of it was fraudulent, it would have sucked, but it wouldn't have had the effect it did. But because all of it was, or so much of it was.
Bro, how the fuck did these people not
know. Put them all in jail.
Holy shit, man.
So, in our other film that we'll talk about later, there's a scene where the main character walks into a house that's been foreclosed on, and the person that was evicted from it wrote on the wall in shit, "Kill bankers."
Yeah, kill bankers, yeah.
Buddy, if that isn't the theme of this month.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Actually, I had one other question, and I don't know if you knew the answer to this one.
I'll try.
So one of the characters that's introduced very late, and she's a one-note character, is Karen Gillian. She's supposed to be an SEC worker.
Oh, the lady that just had the cataract surgery?
No. She was in Vegas. She was there to quit the SEC.
Oh, and she's like a friend of one of the two younger guys that were with Brad Pitt.
And she's like, no, I'm going to go fuck around and become a mortgage person because like we don't do anything at the SEC. Were they defunded or deregulated or something like that right prior to this?
No, they just weren't doing their job.
You're fucking kidding me.
No, I'm serious.
Oh my God.
And also, one of the two investor guys that are investigating, like, how the collapse is about to happen, says to her, like, "Oh, you're here to get a job with one of these, like, banks? Like, you work for the federal government, though. Isn't there, like, a conflict of interest? Like, don't you need to wait, like, a year or two before transitioning from one job to the other, or et cetera, Because, ideally you would think there would be
some sort of, like,
a clause that you can't jump from one to the other.
A non-compete or something.
Yeah, well, because it's a conflict of interest.
Right.
Like, it's not right.
You know? And she just does it anyways.
And she's like, no. She says, no, there's nothing about that at all. I can go immediately from the Fed to one of the banks. Yeah, and because she came from the Fed and knows what she knows and knows what the regulators are looking for or not looking for, it's advantageous for her to work for the bank now because she can make serious money and avoid any regulation, essentially. Yeah, so that's the point of her character in that movie.
I gotcha.
Yeah. She's also there to for hookups at Vegas, which, this movie loves metaphors. Okay.
Yes, I get it. It's something completely unrelated, but I really loved the helper for Ryan Gosling, Chris.
Okay, his assistant that he's like so mean to, but it's so funny.
Hey guys, do you smell that? What's that smell like? Opportunity. Shut up, Chris.
No, he's like, no, it's money.
It's
you
money,
idiot.
you idiot.
Yeah.
Fucking idiot. Yeah, it's Chris.
So that guy was a background actor originally.
Yeah.
And Ryan Gosling took a liking to him and was like, hey, I want this guy's role upgraded. And yeah, so he got like he has a few lines in the movie.
He's got a few lines.
But he got a huge upgrade because Ryan Gosling liked him so much. And he was like, hey, I think you should be my assistant in the movie.
The fucking rules.
And Ryan Gosling's character is so great, but he's a bad person. He's very mean.
Right.
And very shitty and very vain.
Well,
but
I mean, like, dude, he works for one of the banks, and then he's betting against the fucking bank. It's unreal.
And at the end of the movie, he gets a check for $47 million.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have sympathy for him or to think that he is the hero of the piece.
Yeah.
But he is the one who talks to us the most. He explains most of the movie.
He's got the best quotes.
Yeah. He is
my favorite
extremely
one,
funny.
My favorite one is, Caesar wept, for there are no more worlds to conquer. He says that in the movie.
He does.
It's cool. I like that quote. I wrote it down.
You know what he's quoting, though, right?
Yeah, I know what he's quoting. Yes, I'm aware. It's a metaphor. They like metaphors. You gonna be okay, buddy?
Yeah.
We didn't even watch a movie today.
I know.
And
I
you're
just,
already like loopy. Is like really
it's like
getting to you
shut
that
down.
bad? Yeah, damn.
Oh God, where were we? What else should we hit?
Oh, the soundtrack.
Oh, I should have said this a long time ago.
Yes.
But you mentioned Wolf on Wall Street.
Yes, I did.
And I wanted to say that I don't think these movies are that similar. However,
They've got similar substance.
yes, they're both black comedies about fraudulent people in finance.
Yes.
And also, they both have titillating scenes with Margot Robbie.
Yes.
That bathtub scene with Margot Robbie would not have happened if Wolf of Wall Street did not come out.
This is true.
Yeah,
This is true.
1000%. That came to me later, and I was
when
like,
did
oh, that scene 100% was because of Wolf of Wall Street.
I'm going to look up when Suicide Squad came out. I was talking about the soundtrack. Yeah, I was talking about the soundtrack. I was going to talk
Big
about
Short.
the soundtrack of the movie. Yeah.
It's just a lot of pop songs.
No, it's not. No, they're all the songs have meanings. All like you were talking about how there's like metaphors and shit.
Oh yeah,
No, they do.
They were so on the nose too.
Yeah,
when
they
the
were.
levee breaks being the ending song.
Yeah, which called they played Master of Puppets.
Oh, okay. Specifically, Christian Bale's character.
Yeah, his
is a. I mean, I don't think it's ever said, but he's very clearly autistic.
He's autistic. Yeah.
And he listens to metal, lots of metal, and
Suicide Squad came out a year after.
After
Yes.
2014,
2016.
Oh, after this.
This, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Continue. Christian Bale's character is autistic.
Yes, and he listens to metal,
Mhm.
and the first song he listens to is Blood and Thunder by Mastodon.
Yes.
One of my favorite metal bands. So happy to hear that. Well, yeah, later it's Master of Puppets. He is, when he's drumming in his basement,
Yeah.
it's Pantera,
It's
who is
Pantera.
a very problematic band, but,
Yeah.
you know, I love them.
They also play Gorillaz, Feel Good Incorporated, after, what you call it, I think there's like a lot of money made or something. Something like that. It's like, yeah. But my favorite, because you know me, I'm a metalhead, but I like newer, like, what is it, metalcore is my style of metal. And when the people at Christian Bale's finance or venture capital company,
like when his investors come in and start yelling at him.
when they come in and start yelling at him and threaten to take all of his money, right? Darkest Hours, Vultures is playing in the background.
Oh, I did not catch that.
That is a song about. I've heard the song so many times because I love Darkest Hours. It's one of my favorite bands, and it's from the album Son of the Surrender. But it's about people coming in and taking from you. I mean, this is like it's a statement on capitalism. I mean, these guys are very anti-capitalist, and they're very like they're very like anti-conservative.
Yeah.
They have a song in the album after this one about George Bush.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's fucking great. But
I was surprised there wasn't more George Bush bashing in this movie.
Yeah.
But I think Adam McKay was reserving that for Vice.
For Vice,
later.
yeah. But man, it was crazy. It's like I haven't heard that song in a very long time.
Yeah.
Because it's honestly the weakest song on the album. But it was really cool. It's like, I was doing the Leo meme. I was like, oh fuck, it's Vultures. What the fuck? This is awesome. But yeah.
So yeah, to me, a lot of the aside from the metal that
all the other stuff.
to,
That's not what. None of the other stuff like really resonated with me. But that's the things specifically happening with Christian Bale.
They were all needle drops, like that were a little too on the nose. Like, and it was like, okay, I get it. I get what you're saying. You know what I mean? But in theme with that, this movie felt way too ADD. It felt like a financial crime movie for the MTV generation.
Well, they had to cover a lot of stuff in, what was it, 2 hours?
I understand, but did we have to have like
Margot Robbie in a bathtub? No, I don't think we did.
stuff like that where it's like super cuts of, you know, just like stock footage almost of just random scenes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were just.
I got you. There could have been some more editing. No, I get it. I understand.
No, it was too much editing. It was.
But you were saying like they had like stock footage, just so they could just
right.
Leave that
They're
out.
just because in the opening, especially in the opening and the ending, we are. They're super cuts, or like it's every other second we're seeing a different scene, and it's just trying to be evocative of different things that were happening.
Yeah,
but it was too
much
hyper focused. It was on speed. You know, it was like just calm down. Just hold a scene for a fucking minute.
He was excited. He was excited.
Right, and
he found something out and he wanted to share it with everybody.
And I think Adam McKay is afraid that we would lose interest. You know, he didn't want this movie to be boring.
That makes sense.
And he wanted you to watch it, and even if you didn't understand it, you felt like you understood it. You know what I mean? I feel like that's how a lot of people, including myself, walked away from this movie.
That's exactly how I felt watching this movie.
Because you get the general, because that is the magic of movies,
Yeah.
is the movie can evoke a theme, even if it's not telling you, it's showing you.
Yeah.
And so you walk out of this movie, even if you don't understand the intricacies of what occurred, you understand that the bankers, you know, the mortgage underwriters, so on and so forth.
They were all playing
the Wall Street speculators.
Really shitty game. And,
right.
And we paid the price.
Yeah, they were doing bad things. A lot of other people paid for it, and that's it. There was no regulation. You know, there was no fines. The government bailed them out. All of these major companies are still standing. They're still some of the richest companies in the world today.
This shit is unreal, man.
And it happened again in 2020. Granted, it was for maybe a different reason, you could argue.
Yeah, something that they probably couldn't predict. Oh, my favorite thing. Christian Bale's character is now investing in water.
Yeah, that was scary to think about.
I mean...
Because we also get that reference in Succession.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, because Connor is constantly talking about how he's buying up water rights around the world. And then he stoops down to tell a child that, you know, because in a few years, you know, people are going to have wars over water. And it's like, hey, shut up. Don't tell the kid that.
What else is there to say about this movie?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it's too much to talk about, but I highly recommend it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It's a great explainer of what happened at that time.
Mm-hmm. Especially for like people like me and you, because we were in high school when all this stuff happened.
Right, I barely understood it as it was happening. I just thought a bunch of people got behind on their mortgages.
Yeah,
and I didn't realize.
And the banks got bailed out. Like I remember, like that being a talking point, and it was like during Obama's presidency, I believe. Right?
The crisis happened before he got elected.
Yes,
but he was coming into office as it was
happening. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
And so he bailed him out. And I remember like one of my managers complaining about it, like you should have let it fail, which in hindsight, yeah, you're maybe. No, you don't think?
None of there's no president that wouldn't have done it that we've had.
Right. What I was saying is what if he did? Like what would the landscape be like? Would it be, as Steve Carell's character says, the end of capitalism?
No. George Bush did the bailout, not Obama. Though,
oh, okay.
Because I was like, I remember Obama came into office after it all had happened.
Right.
But I still think Obama would have done it.
I got you.
He's too
liberal,
centrist and capitalist focused. Yeah, 100%. But Obama, I think, went on to defend it too, because he was like, we have to make our financial institutions strong.
That's what it was. I remember.
Was the hard line.
Yeah, I remember him saying that.
I just can't think of a modern president that wouldn't have done it though.
What about Donald J. Trump? You can cut that out.
No, he 100.
You think he would?
20% would have done it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Who do you think of all the presidents was the most affected by this?
Oh, I guess him. Yeah. I guess you're right.
Yeah, I guarantee you he had a shitload of money invested that he lost out on in 2007. Yeah.
Right on.
Last thoughts?
No, not really. I mean, like, there's, as you said, there's a lot to cover in this thing, and I think that the best part about this movie, the biggest takeaways from this movie going forward for the rest of our films is understanding what was in place so that the next couple of people that we talk about, next couple of characters that we talk about, are kind of fully realized. And
yeah, they're more character studies, whereas this movie was a general overview
of what happened
with some character study of the crisis itself. Yeah.
Right on. All right, cool. I've got another quote from fucking Ryan Gosling. You don't have to put this in there. But truth is like poetry, and people fucking hate poetry. He's got some good quotes in this.
That was a made-up quote, I found out.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's because apparently Adam McKay was like going nuts trying to find a good quote for like the midpoint of the movie, and he couldn't find one, so he just made that up.
Oh, well, there you go.
I think the attribution is overheard in a bar or something too.
Oh, that was another thing too. When the guys were, you don't need to keep any of this stuff in.
Yeah.
When the guys were at the gun range, like finding more information out, and they're talking to each other, they both have their fucking headphones on and are shooting, and they're talking at like a normal voice thing. There's no fucking way either of them heard what the other one was saying.
So I could probably explain that.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
Those types of they're not headphones. They are sound dampeners.
Yeah.
They are meant to only block out high
decibels.
Is that the word I want? Decibels?
Maybe.
So you could hear someone talking to you at a low volume.
Yeah.
But if you were to go like, you wouldn't hear it.
Gotcha.
I think that's what those are supposed to be.
It's like almost impact resistant. Like the faster the sound, the more impact dampening it does, or some shit.
Yeah.
It's like reactive. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's how those are supposed to work. Things.
Right.
But you don't want to hear the gunshots because that would obviously damage your hearing.
Yeah.
So that's the point of those versus just earplugs.
I gotcha.
Because they make them for people that do like construction work and stuff too, because you want to hear someone shouting,
hey, watch out. Yeah.
Right. But you don't want to hear the general loud noise of the machinery or what have you.
I gotcha.
I think that's how those are supposed to work. Then again, could be a continuity issue very, very easily. But I know there are those types. Yeah.
There was a lot, I think, on the that was going on in this movie, and a lot of shit got missed, especially that fucking wine glass in the Margot Robbie scene.
I know it does.
Jared,
it does bother
shit
me.
out of me so much
because you see her get it filled.
Yeah,
and it's got a foam in it, and then it cuts, and it's exactly where it was. And I'm like, at least cut it out of the frame.
Come on, guys.
But that's what I mean about this movie, like being so heavily cut that it was like, Jesus Christ, calm down for a second. Like we're not that, we're not going to get bored. Like it's okay, you can linger for a moment. Yeah. Well, folks, thanks for listening. You can find our show on social media by searching for @DebaserPod. I'm Jared Rusk, and you can find me on Twitter @DebaserPod on Twitter or Instagram. Will, where can people find you, and would you like to plug anything?
You can find me at pocket_infinity on Instagram. I am putting up pictures of a commission that I just finished. Please go look at my paintings.
Hell yeah.
Although don't criticize them too much because it was a speed paint, and I'm not getting paid enough money for this commission, so they're not that great. They're just okay.
What are they? I understand they're Tyranids.
Oh yeah, they're Tyranids. It's from this new released box for the newest edition for Warhammer 40k.
You're right.
Is the Tyranid half of the box.
Yeah.
They're basically like space bugs. Actually, it's a fun kind of timeline on their evolution. Not to spend 15 minutes talking about Transformers, but I can do it.
No, please, not Transformers.
But they started off as like, space bugs, and then StarCraft. What were the Zerg? So the Zergs.
Yes.
Zerg and Starship Troopers had come out in between the time that the Tyranids were made and when they got a range update in the early 2000s, and they are massively influenced by the Zerg and the Xenomorphs from Alien and the creatures from Starship Troopers.
Right.
So they're very cool, like reptilian bug monsters. Right. And yeah, I had a fun time painting them.
Hell yeah.
Except for, you'll see like there's like maybe 20 small guys. Fuck those models. Fuck them in the ass. I hate those fucking models. My eyes bleed every time I even look at them. But the rest of the box was fun to build and paint.
Yeah. Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, check that out at pocket_infinity on Instagram.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night. Debaser is hosted by Will Taylor and Jared Rusk. Want to email the show? Send it to podcast@debaserpod.com. Want to help us out? Please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice, especially Apple Podcasts. And please tell a friend to listen to Debaser. Thank you for listening, and take care out there.